This is Shivoso and with Phina, and we're going to give you our new moon report and the energies of the week, the next 2 weeks coming up. And it's a pretty interesting time. I know you're all been feeling it. And so maybe this will help kind of ground things in a bigger perspective. Uh, Phina always has some great stuff for us. So, and then afterwards, I'll give the astrological report. So I just want to hand it over to Phina and, how's it going, Phina? What's up?
Well, some interesting times indeed. We just had a personal conversation, also saying that we are moving through these wild times, and it keeps being interesting, especially in working with energy and how much is actually possible. We were saying to each other that even sometimes we are still amazed by it, and learning new things. So to share about this and also what I pick up in the energy is really nice. And the first topic that I'm going to talk to you about, hi camera, is arising insecurities. Last time I talked about two groups, not as a dividedness, but the intuitives and the general collective. There is a group of people that are already have been moving through these energies. So if that's you, wait till the end. I got some new stuff for you as well. And we got the general collective. So for you is coming up arising insecurities, like I said. Um, just that, arising insecurities. Noticing in yourself when you're doing your job or handling your personal relationships that these old insecurities that maybe you haven't faced for a while, they are coming up to the surface, being in your face, like you cannot go around it. And maybe you start doubting yourself. And what is my hope for you? That by hearing this, that this might arise, don't take it as a given, but that it might arise. Maybe it can support you to just let it be there, just let it come up, and to see it as information that can help you to see where there's still some work to be done. So that is what I wish for you with that. Then we have finances, and I was a little bit laughing because Shivoso already said it last time also in the astrology report that this was coming up. I still feel it for the larger collective that finances is something that we should keep an eye on. So everything you have to arrange it. It is good though to feel out the right moment, the right wave of energy. Um, because some days, some moments are better than others. So set your time limit, like then it has to be done, and then go with your intuition, like, okay, when am I going to address this? And why am I saying this? Because, for example, if you need to get a loan from the bank for your house, you want to arrange it, there's a group of people working at the bank. And it could be that when you listen to your intuition, that you come across the right person working at the bank. So see where the energy is aligning and where you can move with your plans. Then we have communication. This one also goes for the intuitive still. Um, Communication in our personal relationships, but also in terms of finances, and also the question, how do I communicate? To have this, um, I lost the word for a moment. Can you help me, Shiv? Like when you want to research something, is it a looking glass? How do you
Yeah.
call it?
Yeah.
A
Looking
looking glass.
glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, take a looking glass and to take a deep good look to the ways that you are communicating. Again, not with a right or wrong, but to learn from it and to see where are the gaps and how can I fill them, and maybe I can talk with friends that have this skill that I want to learn. And so it's still some sort of a deep dive into who am I and how how do I communicate, how do I go about things. Then I've written for the intuitives, getting back to your goals. Probably most of you are known with vision boards and you know, really setting goals, or at least knowing how to, yeah, direct and focus your energy to where you want to go. And I feel that in this time it's really, really important. I feel there's almost a portal, and maybe you can talk about that later if that is so. Shiv, I feel like there's a big window of opportunity for us as individuals to really focus on our goals, to see where we are headed, but also in that, to feel out where you're headed. We've talked about this before, that there are two main ways of manifestation, which is um, by the mind, a little bit from ego as well, like, hey, where do I want to go? But it's more serving to us to really feel out, to channel it, maybe if you're capable of doing that, and otherwise to feel where is your happy, where is your passion, um, yeah, where's your life purpose taking you? And those are big questions. Some people are like, whoa, I get really overwhelmed when I'm having to think about life purpose and stuff like that. And I can imagine that it is a big question. Don't push it. Just try to feel out where you are inspired to go. And inspiration is in spirit. So then you're already channeling it. So probably you're doing that more already than you might know. Um, Focusing on love,
Mm.
focusing on the energy of love. Like, the energies going on in the world are wild. And we also talked about this in our in our personal conversation, that the best remedy for energies where we feel like, I don't know if that is something I want to connect to, is love, the darker energies, the way Shivoso, you put it so nicely. Is it okay if I take your
Mhm.
analogy? Like, the way you said it was like you have a fire, and there's a pack of wolves around it, and as long as you keep the fire going, the wolves cannot get to you. It's the same way with also unwanted entities. So as long as you focus on love and can really connect to this in your meditations, but also during the day, um, that will give you a lot of protection. So, wherever you can with each other, let's see if you can find the love in connections, in situations, and in your meditation. It's really going to help you. Then, last but not least, again, the cheeky one is standing for who you are. We are being challenged right now to really stand for who you were. Like, for sure, you have certain gifts, certain things that you are bringing, and ask yourself if you have been keeping yourself small on any way, shape, or form, to see where you can finally take the stand for who you are, and bring it out, to leave projections from other people where they are. And I'm saying this really firmly, and I also feel it very firmly, and yet I'm also going through phase with this. So it's important. It's important for us, because when we don't do this, then we cannot really bring what we came here to bring, and that would be a real pity. No? So yeah, that was my last one. I'm gonna shoot the ball to you.
Catch it. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Once again, you kind of nailed it. You know, first off, it's the new moon, which is always a time of new beginnings and initiation, and the time to like, okay, what do I really want? What direction do I want to go? Right. And you're right, some of it's ego, but the ego, the self is connected to the higher self. And so you just got to find the balance between those two. But really, we're going to just start off with the new moon. There's a couple of things that you mentioned that are right in the alignment with the astrology that's going on during this period. It's a kind of it's less easygoing than we'd like, because we've been through so much in the last few months, few years, few months, that it's been a challenge to kind of keep our hope up and our energy up. And then here we go into this, like December starts to like, oh, we're starting to get some trines and we're starting to get some sextiles and things are starting to look like we're going somewhere. And then plunk, this new moon is conjunct at the same time as Mercury goes retrograde. So suddenly we're kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back feeling. But Mercury retrograde is nothing to fear. It's actually really good, because as it manifests, and trust me, it's been manifesting. We're going to be lucky if this recording gets out. It's been pretty funny. And that's how I've been getting through it, is by engaging my sense of humor as quickly as possible. Because at first I'm a little angry, I'm a little frustrated, things are not going well. And it's all minor stuff. Because what happens is, if I'm just patient and I bring a little sense of humor or lightness to it, within a few minutes or a few hours, whatever I thought was like totally screwed up just sort of like fixes itself. It's like, oh, okay, it's working now. So it requires us to have some patience with our expectations and kind of check ourselves, even though we're all trying to go forward. We got a lot to do. There's a lot going on each day. It's a busy time. Sun in Sagittarius, Mars in Sagittarius, Mercury now retrograde in Sagittarius, all kind of activates everything. And what occurred to me was like, the Mercury retrograde is really asking us to engage the 4 agreements. Some of you may know the 4 agreements, they've been around for a long time. And so it's don't take anything personally, right? Mercury retrograde, this associated with Mercury retrograde. Be impeccable with your word, communication. Don't make any assumptions. Don't make any assumptions about what you think is going on. Just say, well, it could be this and it could be that, but don't fix on any assumptions, because you're likely to be wrong. And also do your best. Lose your patience, gather your patience back, lose your temper, get your temper back. It's like, do your best. You don't have to do perfect. This is going to be annoying. It's going to be really annoying, because, things will seem delayed and lost, and then they come back and you're like, what the hell? So, seeing it all as this long, slow slip on a banana peel for the next few weeks as we head towards the new year, because Mercury goes direct again at the end of the year, at the end of the month, the end of the year, and Jupiter at the same time will go direct, all right, around the 30th and 31st of December. So, we've got this little time to check ourselves, to check the boxes of what we want from our lives. It's a really good time to be imaging and imagining and envisioning what we want and where we're going and what our near future is, because the new moon is initiating some things. We've also got what is it? Neptune is quite influential for this next 2 weeks, right? It does some squares to the sun, which have two effects. One, it can bring in inspirations and big ideas and kind of spiritual awakenings, but can also kind of make us lethargic and apathetic. So Neptune has a funny two-sided, like every other planet and aspect, has a two-sidedness to it. And Neptune can kind of make it seem it's foggy, it's ungrounded, but it's also where all of the really big spiritual energies are dwelling. So you can actually reach up there and get some inspirations. But because of the Mercury retrograde and everything else, we've still got Neptune is retrograde. So that's going to make it a little more heavier. It's going to be kind of like intense just sitting there. And so it's kind of time to write it down, to imagine it, to talk about it, but not so much the time to like throw the money down on it or to commit to it, because you might have to do some adjustments with the Mercury retrograde and the other retrogrades. 2024, January, February, March, it's just going to feel really different. And so we want to be ready for that. And that's what this little retrograde period right around this time in the solstice is all about, is like just cleaning up the last of a lot of messes that have happened in, September and October and November in our lives, and that were distracting. And so now we're kind of like, okay, we're cleaning up some details, and they're mostly inner details. It's like, what do I really want? What do I envision? What would be exciting? What would be good? What's my purpose? What's meaningful in my life, right? So some of this is going to be influenced by this Jupiter trine to Mercury retrograde. Jupiter expansion, Mercury is the mind and travel and imagination. It's up there, and it's retrograde. Jupiter is super expansive, and it's also retrograde. So we could have this sort of tendency to overthink, to get over enthusiastic, to act too soon, to be precipitous. And that's not wise, because you might have to change your mind. You might have to clean up afterwards. So be as cautious as patient as you can with these inspirations and these new energies that are coming in. Big ideas, right? That's why writing them down, or praying about it, or imagining it, or discussing it with your network, right? With the people that you care about, that you're going to collaborate with. Because during this whole period, what we've got is Uranus in Taurus is going to be opposing Venus in Scorpio during the whole 2 weeks, pretty much. I mean, it gets stronger and then fades, but it's really going to be part of it. And that's really about relationships. Neptune Uranus in Taurus is about rapid change, unexpected innovations in this earthy, sensual sign. Venus is about, in Scorpio, is kind of like passionate and heavy and intense, loves intensity, especially around love and relationships and things like that. So things are going to come flying up in your relationships, and it could be around other things that you value. If it's money, if finances are kind of up, there could be some excitement, some thrilling changes to the plot, and they may be good or they may be not good. You don't know, right? But you got to just kind of roll with it. That's why part of keeping your eye on the big picture of where you want to go and what your values are and what's important to you is really central to kind of getting through this period of time, because it's so activated, right? And we're not done yet. We haven't even got to the solstice yet. And so solstice coming up on the 21st, right? And that's the next Thursday, right? We're having the 21st. By the way, it's my birthday. I was born on the solstice. So it's kind of a big day for me. And what's really cool is that we've got Chiron is going to be trine Mars on the 20th. That's Wednesday. And that's going to bring some of that healer energy in, which, my God, the world needs some wise healer to come in and really activate. Mars, action, Chiron, the wise healer. So maybe we might get a little light coming into some of the horrors and the stuff that's going on in the world and in our personal lives. There's a little like wise healer that can show up So as we get into the solstice energy, the moon's going to hit that and light it up on the 20th. Then the moon moves forward on the solstice, and it's going to like do a quick series of trines that day on the 21st, on my birthday. Trines are great, so it kind of makes it a little, sunny and optimistic, which us Sages love. It's going to trine Mercury retrograde, it's going to trine the sun, and it's going to trine Mars. So the moon, our feeling self and our intuitive self, is going to be kind of lighting up with these positive aspects with Mercury, the sun, and Mars on the 21st. So, that's going to be good. And what's really cool is it actually ends up in activating this, what they call a grand minor trine. Saturn, which is in Pisces, is going to be sextile the moon conjunct Jupiter, sextile the other direction with Mars and the sun and Mercury. And they trine between Jupiter, moon, Mars, sun, Mercury, with Saturn anchoring it with the sextiles on both sides. So it's kind of like that shape, right? And Saturn's here. Saturn is responsibility and doing it right and getting things in order. And it's going to be smoothly connecting to those planets of the moon, your feelings, Jupiter, expansion and optimism, the sun, yourself, and Mercury, which is communication and all that. And so that's actually happening right around the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So we get this kind of like, ooh, we might get some shit done. Not done, but we could actually create something that has some validity, validated by the stars, that has some perpetuity to it. It's kind of this powerful manifestation moment, right? And because it's in these earth signs, it's just Sagittarius sun, Taurus moon, Taurus and Pisces. It's got earth, air, water, and fire. So it's going to be a nice day. I'm really excited about my birthday. We'll see. I was also born with Saturn directly on top of, within 1 degree of my sun. So my expectations of it being an exuberant birthday are fairly low. I don't really care. It's like, I just want to make sure that I get the right things done. So, yeah, that's going to be pretty neat, except there's a square to Pluto with the moon just for a few hours, which will bring in some heavier stuff, right? And then there's a square and a half to Mars that the moon does as well on that same day as we move through the whole period. So that can make it a little glitchy getting things done. You're going to be maybe a little impulsive, so watch out for a little impulsiveness. That's always with that Jupiter trine the sun. It's just impulsive. Let's see. So you mentioned money, which is really great because Venus in Scorpio opposite Uranus and Taurus also has to do with money, right? And so there could be some changes or some imagination, some envisioning, some opportunities that would come up around changing your financial situation. And it'll be, it's an opposition, so it can kind of go either way. You can either be relational, like networky, and make it a win for everybody, which is what Venus wants, or it can be like kind of a little catastrophic, like, oops, that didn't work out. Uranus can sometimes kind of pull the rug out from underneath you. But the thing to know about that stuff is that it's actually correct. What we forget is there are no bad aspects, that in the long run, this is for our benefit, for the benefit of all, not our particular benefit, because the universe doesn't put us in the center. We're just part of the whole thing, right? We're the center, and it's hard to explain. We're both the center and everything else, right? So watch for the overspending as we move into this Christmas season, as we get into the whole gift giving thing. Watch for overspending, and watch for the over enthusiasm. So moving right along, we get to Christmas Eve, and let's see, my notes here said, yep, it's the moon's going to move into Gemini for Christmas Eve, and it's not aspecting anything else. but the other aspects are still there. The trine to Jupiter and Mercury, that those kind of things will still be in effect, but the moon won't be aspecting particularly anything except it's in Gemini, which loves to party. It's a pretty merry-making sign to be in, air. The moon's, so we'll have probably a good time on Christmas Eve for those of you who celebrate that kind of stuff. And the only other side is Gemini sometimes can flip and be kind of cranky. So as we move into Christmas morning, watch out for your inner cranky child who's dissatisfied with everything, because that's just your ego attaching to it. It's like it moves, the moon moves along and finally gets into Cancer out of Gemini on the 25th. But we have this Neptune, which is going to be squaring the sun at the same time on the 25th through that kind of period. And that can kind of give us a little bit of like overindulgence in things like drugs and alcohol. And so we can be a little hungover after our merrymaking on the 24th, which would slow things down on Christmas morning. I actually suggest that what we do on Christmas morning is we do a gratitude practice. Because Neptune is square the sun, we can actually call in our highest gratitudes. And that gets always a response from the universe. So yeah, it's a good idea to give thanks for what you do have and what you can find. There's some great YouTubes on how to do gratitude practices that really are effective, based in science even, right? It's like, this is not woo-woo, this is straight up psychology. And so we have this opportunity right there before we get to the full moon on the 26th, because 25th, then boom, the full moon happens on the 26th. And we'll do another report, obviously, when it comes around to that. But a lot going on right now. And I'm really glad that you mentioned the finances thing and the imagination of planning the future, where you want to go, because that's super in alignment with what we need to be doing. And we need to come back to our sense of humor. What we've got right now is we're a little burdened from the last few months, and it's hard to be light. Now, I'm a Sag, so I can throw that shit off easier than some people, but really just focus on laughing at what goes on. Notice when things glitch and then when they fix, and then realize how much you took yourself too seriously, that you were upset about a little nothing, right? I was joking with Phina that this recording might not even work, right? I just imagine that one of our mics is off or something, and we'll just have to do it again tomorrow. It's like, okay, what's my plan B? So definitely have plan Bs. Keep your sense of humor, because it's ridiculous. It's been just funny as hell the last few days, and difficult. I've had several people approach me, good close friends, with struggles in their relationships and in their emotional bodies, because Pluto is kind of influencing that. It's kind of bringing things up, and Mercury retrograde makes it so it kind of like can burst out. And so if you're facing some stuff, recognize this is a passing thing, but it's trying to tell you some truth. So if you can't fix it now, which is probably the way it is, it's just wait a little while, keep it in your pocket, journal about it, pray about it, counsel about it with people that you trust, because a lot's coming up and it needs to be kind of massaged and worked with, because we're on a journey. We're on a journey that is going to get much faster and sort of rapid paced, and hopefully a lot more positive in 2024 than what we've gone through since 2020. But it's still going to be intense, and you want to like have your network in place and do the work now. Don't run away from the stuff and laugh at yourself when you take it too damn seriously. That's pretty much it for that. That was a lot, I know, but I hope you all find something comforting in that. You're not alone. Everybody's going through some, it's like, oh, we're just over it. We're just done with being stressed out and, oppressed by our own shadows and, the karma of living in the 20th, 21st century. Yeah, being human. So fun. What do you
You
think,
always
Vina?
say you always say humaning, being good at humaning.
Yeah, yep. Being good at humaning is hard, especially without guidance. I think a lot of us
Mm,
miss the fact that we don't have trusted elders, um, you know, fathers, mothers, grandmothers, uncles, people who've been around for a while. And so we seek that out. We're really lacking that perspective of like, yep, this is just another thing, shit goes up and shit goes down, right? And so, yeah, we're going through some hard times,
it
but
hits the fan and it goes all.
yeah, but there's beautiful stuff going on too. Count your blessings,
Yeah.
gratitude. Like, oh my God, wow, I survived October, September, October, November, right? Not only that, but some gifts came in, some unexpected, like, oh, I've been waiting for that. So for a lot of us, depending on your chart, you're gonna have recognized you've been blessed in some ways. So God, all of this is about your own chart too, right? I mentioned my birthday and my Saturn. It makes a big difference. It makes a bigger difference than what's going on in the mundane world for you personally. What does your birth chart say? Where's your progress chart? So there's a lot of information that's not in here, but the general weather report is what you just got.
Definitely. And we really hope that you benefit from this, because like Shiv said, it's a lot of info, but I always feel like it's a lot of beneficial info, and you can profit with it, or at least give yourself maybe some like, oh, I'm not going through this alone. Okay,
Right.
true, this was coming up in the energy. I always enjoy talking to Shivoso because he he always has this thing like, oh yeah, yeah, it's so common that it's coming up now because this is going on, this and this and this, and like we can support each other as well, we're also doing this on a private level, so it's
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's
And
always
I
comfort
use
in the big picture, and there's always comfort in
Mhm.
sharing it and recognizing, oh, yeah, you too, huh? Or wow, could be worse. When you support
Yeah.
other people who are going through stuff, you get a bit of a like, oh, thank you. That's not happening
Mm.
for me. I got problems, but they're not those, right? And so I really feel it
Exactly.
I mean, oh my God, I cry about the struggle that's going on for people in the world right now. And so blessed to be able to just have a nice day, right? It's like my little problems, they're not that big a deal. They're big to
Exactly.
me. That's all. They're just big to me,
Yeah.
But when in the big
It's funny
picture,
you
it's like,
say that.
wow.
I was thinking that this week, I was moving through some stuff, and at the same time I was thinking like, this is just so small. Like there are people really struggling for their life, for food, and I have a bed, I have good food, I have a beautiful roof above my head, especially now. So, there are always things the mind wants to boggle about.
Yeah.
And then again, most of us are really, really blessed. So, yeah, take a look at where you are. So, the gratitude practice that you mentioned is something really valuable as well
Yeah.
to
I'll put the link of the
take.
one that it's like an hour and a half video by this guy named Huberman, and he does a lot of research. And so he's, as far as the scientific side of how to do a gratitude practice that really benefits
Yeah.
your psychology, and because it's about the muggle kind of side of it, that doesn't matter because when you do that work, the magical side works. It's really about the practice, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, there's no difference between psychology and soul. um
No, I always love it. It's like with the work of Joe Dispenza as well. You know, he takes this really scientific approach that is understandable for the mind, and then he moves into the more etherical. And I was saying this week to someone like, okay, now we are approaching this, you know, looking at it from our knowledge that we have now with the energetics. But let's not forget that, you know, maybe 15 years back or 10 years back, we were more like, oh, okay, we still do need the scientific approach. And I still find it so fascinating. Like, how does it work when you have a thought and it creates all these neurotransmitters, and then it makes you feel again a certain way, and that creates energy waves, like energy waves that are measurable, you know.
Hmm.
People think it's all this woo woo stuff, but it isn't. It is measurable with equipment.
Right. And then
So
we
it's
see the
fun.
effects in our
I love it.
lives of having a positive attitude. God, I was just writing about it. It's like, let me see if I can pull it up. It was the fact that experiences that would normally that are like manifestly traumatic in a life can be a positive thing if we suddenly see it as a motivation, as an opportunity, as a way of like, I'm going to stop fucking around and I'm going to get
Mhm.
right, kind of like getting scared straight is how I wrote it. And it's happened to me where suddenly it's super easy for me to be disciplined about my health because I almost lost it. And that's just one example, but there's that. You change your mind, you change your life. As Carl Jung said, things that you don't bring to your conscious mind that are in the shadow and repressed will show up in your life as fate. But also your attitude towards what's happening will show up in your life as fate. And so, that's really where we have some kind of like initiative in our lives. It isn't like we can just manifest or, wish ourselves into health or wish ourselves into wealth or anything like that. But we can
Yeah.
orient ourselves towards those things. And what's really amazing is over time, you'll get more of what you head for. If you always think life is fucked up and it's against you, you'll get more of that because it's true. There's resistance, but if you're focused on where your gifts are and what you're grateful for, you get more of that because your mind begins to actually wire for it. And this is what Joe Dispenza talks about: is you can wire your brain to be more happy, successful, regardless of your outside circumstances. And there are people who've had some pretty awful, awful things happen to them, and they're gloriously grateful. It's weird.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a gray area, and I think I talked to you about this before because there's mm, being said often in the spiritual community, like every situation is neutral until you assign a meaning to it, and then you know, you can choose yourself whether you're going to take it as something you can gain your strength from, or you're gonna play the victim. I do want to make a little side note on that, and you already know it for sure. Is that, for example, with a really heavy topic like rape, there's nothing neutral about this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hardship. It is a situation that is not serving, like you can create something surfing out of it, but it is not surfing in the moment, and in that moment you truly are a victim.
True.
Let's not take that out of the
No, I'm
reality.
not trying to
You
bypass anything.
no,
I'm just
exactly.
kind of pointing out
No,
that,
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you.
yeah,
It's not a response to you. It's just something that flew into my mind that I
yeah,
really want to address because I hear it so often, and I really feel strongly that um, that then afterwards in the healing process, you know, you gain a lot of knowledge and you gain a lot of healing and trust, and hopefully find the right people around you, and then it can turn into something valuable, and then
Yeah.
it can serve as a strength
Never
and a
positive, but
thing.
it can be valuable. It can be
Mm,
worth it in some
yeah,
weird way. And that's has so much to do with like turning it into service or wisdom. A person who's been through a traumatic experience and then um, begins to make changes in the world around them to protect others from that experience or to
yeah,
help people through that experience because they've had that experience.
yeah,
Life is suffering. It's like, and there's like turning suffering into something not positive. It's just suffering. How do you say it? It's just something that gives back, um, to make it all worth it in some
yeah,
way or another. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially with the way humans treat humans. That was something I pointed out, was like the things that seem irreparably evil seem almost are universally perpetuated by human beings who have a choice. Sharks aren't evil. Fires aren't evil. The universe isn't evil, but people do evil things. Malevolence is a human created action. It's when you have a
mm,
choice and you make a choice to create more. So, yeah, heavy stuff, right? Okay, here we are in Mercury retrograde. Yeah.
yeah.
I hope you all understand, we're just dancing around some really difficult stuff that we think about all the time. And, the reason we do the work we do is because we do this kind of like dive into what the hell is going on? How does this work? And why do bad things happen to good people? And then what do you do about it? How do you love through that? So yeah, that's why we talk about it.
Yeah,
We
we
don't know
grow.
everything. We don't know
No.
anything. Honestly. We're just philosophizing about it. So yeah, feed us back. I want to hear from people. I'd like to see what they think about these conversations.
Yeah, me too. And also let me know where you are. I want to know which group is looking at our readings. Like, are you guys all intuitives? Are you more resonating with the collective? Because the more I know who is connecting to our readings, the more I can. Hmm, I think I'm always going to make it both. But if I feel like, oh, it's more intuitives, then I can, shift my energy a little bit. So that
Yeah.
might be interesting. If you want to leave a comment below, do you feel more drawn to the general collective or the intuitives? And there is no right or wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to hear your voices too. Cool. I guess we should probably wrap it up. Um,
Yes,
it's been another
like
really
a
great
burrito.
session. Yep. And we'll see everybody in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
Give us a
See
call.
you
We're
later.
always out there. Reach out to us. Look below for our contacts. And we love doing this stuff. So love you all too. Blessings. Blessings on your solstice.
And on Shiv's birthday. Maybe you remember it.
Yay!
21st.
21st. Yeah. 65, 21st. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. I'm gonna celebrate you for sure.
Thanks.
Nice. Okay. Well, people, have a good day and see you next time.
Ciao.
Ciao.